Starfield released earlier this week. I've been playing it since Thursday night. This is just a quick video about my early impressions, about if it's good, if it's fun, and if it's worth your time. So let's get into it. Starfield was released under unbelievable expectations. Like, the weight of expectations on Starfield is crazy, even if it was just Bethesda's next game. It was their first new IP in 20 years. They had made Oblivion and Morrowind and Skyrim they've released forever for 10 years, and the Fallout series. Like, they are a huge deal. And so them releasing any new game, especially a brand new game, would have already garnered that level of interest. But if you add to that Microsoft bought Bethesda and was releasing Starfield as maybe one of the most important exclusives that Xbox has ever had, that weight of expectation is too much for any game, and I don't wish that on anybody. It's very hard to be the most important game of all time. How does Starfield do? Well, first I just want to say this. It's very important for me that you know that I'm not interested in creating a hot take or having any kind of like, oh, he said this. I'm not about creating drama or anything like this. All I'm doing is giving my reaction to playing games. That's all the channel's for, that and writing. That's all I'm trying to do, is tell you what it was like to play this game for me. Now, I'm going to explain a few of my thoughts as I go into the video, but my starting point is this. I think Starfield is a good game. It might even be a great game. And as I discover more about it, I'm pushed more that direction. I think that it definitely did not make a good first impression, but it definitely grows on you. And I think there's an unbelievable amount to do, and most of it is fun. So now I'm going to talk about how I came to some of those conclusions. So I was kind of on the fence about this game in the first place because I was worried that it was just going to be Skyrim in space. And then I got really hyped, like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the game came out. I rewatched the 40-minute direct and was just, man, they're doing so much cool stuff with this game. It looks beautiful. I think this game's going to be awesome. So I decided, I have Game Pass, so I decided to pay the $30 to get the DLC, the first DLC, and early access to play on Thursday night. And I've been playing it since Thursday night. I'm currently about 14 hours in, and I am really having a good time. However, let's go back to that first impression. So I got it Thursday night. I played Thursday night for 3 hours, I think, and then, went to bed or whatever. And my buddy called me the next day. He said, hey, so what did you think? And my response was, it's interesting. And he said, what does that mean? And I think that says a lot. When I first started, I was really excited about the procedural generation and exploring the planets. And very quickly, that wasn't very fun for me. It wasn't fun. You just walk for 2-3 minutes to the waypoint that exists and go there, and then there's there's a cave and a little bit of loot, and then you go to the next, come back and go to the next thing. And for some of you, that might be amazing. That's not why I play video games. I was also quite put off early by the amount of loading screens. I'll be honest. A lot of people are complaining that anybody with any critical view is just being a hater or had unreasonable expectations. And I really don't think I did. I think I've rewatched the direct. I think I had the right expectations. Even if my expectation was that this would be a Skyrim in space with some spaceship play and exploring planets with procedural generation, it's not unreasonable that I would also expect there to be the modern game experience, which for the last few years has been very few load screens. It is next gen, but it's not next gen design. And that's the number one thing I felt while playing the game early, the first few hours. I could not shake the feeling that this felt like a game that should have been released 4 or 5 years ago. And it doesn't even mean it wasn't a great game. It can be great, and a game that should have come out 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I think there are some things that it's doing that are definitely next gen, but for the most part, it feels like you could have released this on Xbox with a faster hard drive, Xbox with an SSD, and at this point, I don't feel like anything would be outside of the scope of what it's doing. And what do I know? I could be completely off. What else did I not love about the design early in the game? The quest system, for sure. It is a ton of fetch quests. It is a ton of go here, talk to this person, and come back here and talk to us. Go here, get this thing, come back to us. And then some of the procedural generation stuff is like MMO style. Like you go to a planet and it says like, all right, find some flora, and you got to find these alien plants. And you got to go to them and scan it. And you scan one and it's like 12% scanned, and then 25%. And then, so you got to scan like 8 or 9, 10 plants to complete your 1 out of 2. Now, I've come to realize that maybe some of that would happen faster if I have certain skills, and that makes sense to me. If I'm spec'd into studying plants, then maybe I only have to scan 1 or 2. But I'm not, and so it's like that's not quite a viable alternative to gameplay for me. But again, I understand some of the things later. As I played the game, I understood a little bit more and could make exceptions for some of the things that were frustrating me. But the general quest design still hasn't been super compelling. The story, though, has been. I am interested in the story, and both factions that I've joined so far, I'm interested in. And so in that regard, I'm definitely interested in the game. And that's probably the coolest part about how Starfield worked for me. The first 3 hours, if I had just played those 3 hours, I would have gone away probably being very critical, probably being able to say, like, it's not a good game. But I kept thinking about the game, and then I kept playing it, and then I realized I was having fun. And ultimately, that's why I rank my games on how good a game is, how fun it is, and then if it values your time. So that first one, how good it is, I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm saying the jury's out. I do now, 14 hours in, I think it's a good game. I think it's good. I don't think it's a badly designed game. I struggled with some stuff initially, but I understand some of why, and I think I can get my head around that it's a good game. There's some really good stuff going on, and again, may even be great, but I'm not ready to answer that question just yet. How good is this game? I'm not quite sure yet. And that's okay, because that middle question, am I having fun? Yeah, I'm having a ton of fun. There's a lot that's irritating about, like I said, the quests and that kind of stuff, but I'm also having fun. I put 14 hours in since Thursday, having a great time. Just exploring, going on these quests. The combat is good. So the combat is good is no small feat, and is my favorite part. Like, the combat is really fun. So that's half the ball game. If you have fun combat and it's fun to get new guns and try new guns and like that, if that part's good, then you're going to be okay playing the game. The game also, through the main story, has a point where it moves into something compelling. I found it compelling, and I'm super interested to see where it goes. I want to see what argument Bethesda makes about life, and I like that there's this dichotomy between and you have a couple characters, one of whom's like a person of the faith and one of whom's a person of science, and kind of this discussion, and I don't know where it's going to go. And I'm actually pretty stoked about this part of the game, that story element. And that's kind of how I play games anyway. I'm normally somebody who really does care about the story first. So that the main story and both factions that I've joined have compelling stories so far is certainly enough to keep me going along and having a good time discovering where those stories go. So it's good, maybe great. It's definitely fun. Does it value your time? So this is a complicated answer. Just like with Baldur's Gate 3, where I said with Baldur's Gate 3, it's a really long game. So you have to go into that. Like, this game, there's just going to be a ton to do. Like, already my quest log is 20 quests long of just things you can do. But that doesn't mean it doesn't value your time. I think there are things about it that do not value your time. I think the fact that when you land on a planet and the waypoints are whatever, it's like 900 meters away or whatever, and it takes you 2 or 3 minutes to just walk there to see whatever random thing spawned, I don't think that's very fun. I also think that then the only thing they really add for you to do is like scan plants or break up the rocks or whatever and collect that. Again, it's fine, but I don't think it's like super fun or of value to you, unless you just love exploration, in which case, dude, you're going to love it. But ultimately, I think a Bethesda game really does value your time, even though it asks you to spend 1,000 hours doing it. Because what it says is, what do you want to do? Go do that thing. Right? If you just love exploring, you want to wander and look at planets, go ahead. If you want to load up and just go do a few quests, you can, because there's just a ton of quests. And if you want to go fight some stuff, you can, because that's just all there is to do. So I don't know how much it purely values your time, but your time can be well spent doing what you want if you were to play this game. And you can also just focus on the main quests and kind of cruise through it. And I'm having fun just doing mostly that, mostly playing main quest or faction quest stuff. That is something that I think is a quality of life feature. They have in there that you could just always select main quest and you could have a great time exploring and doing everything around the main quest. And maybe it's a nice, short, tight journey because you never get distracted to do the other things. That said, most people would argue that the other things are what make a Bethesda game so fun. But if you don't have unlimited time, you could focus on the main quest or a couple of faction quests and still have a wonderful time doing that. So I talked a little bit about the expectations for Starfield. I'm not sure where this game is going to land when it fully releases in a couple of days. I think that PC users might be mixed. Like some people are going to love the fact that there's modding happening and love all the exploration and that stuff. And then some people are going to be just focused on the lack of performance. I think Xbox players are going to love this game because they have to love this game. And I'm not trying to be critical. I am an Xbox player. I have owned, I think, almost every system. I wrote it down one time. Like since the Nintendo Entertainment System back in in 85 or whatever, I've owned, I think, everything except for the Sega Master System and the GameCube and a PS Vita or PlayStation Vita or whatever. So that's about it. I've owned, at least for a limited amount of time, pretty much most systems. The Wii U. Also never owned a Wii U. I love my Xbox. I love my PlayStation. I love my Switch. I love my PC. I love all the games. I'm not picking sides. Xbox's value, Game Pass's value, is significantly impacted by Starfield's performance, for better or worse. So I think Starfield is going to be very well reviewed by many people with Xbox, just because their bias is going to play into it. It has to be good. And it might be. And it might even be great. I'm going to keep playing. I'll let you know as I keep going. Later.